if you could snap your fingers and change something about the way R&D is created here, what would you want to change in the next say 3 to 5 years?
So I think one gap we have, and I think it's widely recognized, is in the scale-up funds. So, we invest a lot in Switzerland in research and innovation. I mentioned the 26 billion before. That's roughly 3% or so, or 2.3% of GDP. It's quite high. But in the end, the startups we create can raise funds in Switzerland quite easily, but where it's hard is scale-up funds. So when you need 10, 15, 100, 200 million of funding, that gets really hard. And we have a long list of examples of companies in Switzerland that really struggled to raise money in Switzerland. Okay. So then they have a choice to raise money in the US or elsewhere. Yeah, and that's really an issue. So having more funding for startup to scale up, I think this, if I could snap my fingers, would be a huge accelerator and have a big impact on Switzerland.
How do you get that started? I mean, that's VC business, right? Or
that's VC business, but in the end, we also have huge pension funds in Switzerland, where a ton of money is invested.
Just part, basically.
Of course, some of it is also invested in startups,
right?
But usually in startup funds, which are quite often in the US. So to diversify the risks, they invest in a number of different vehicles, buildings and such,
right?
But also in VC funds,
right?
For the most part in the US. And I think there we should somehow ensure that a bit of that money is invested into the Swiss VC ecosystem,
right?
If possible, so that we all benefit from this huge amount of money we invest, upstream in research, in tech transfer, in innovation, and finally, whenever the companies have great products and make it, that you don't have just a US, VC just company
just all the money,
pick it up and buy it,
right?
And you have a long list of examples of that happening in Switzerland,
right? This episode is brought to you by Swissquote. In a world of economic uncertainty, having full visibility and control over your finances matters more than ever. Swissquote is Switzerland's leading digital bank, combining everyday banking with advanced trading and investment solutions. So whether you're investing in stocks, ETFs, crypto, or just looking to actively manage your portfolio, Swissquote offers powerful tools, transparent pricing, and the security of a fully regulated Swiss bank. Discover more now at swissquote.com. How can you kickstart that process? Do you deal with pension funds?
No, not ourselves. I mean, you have initiatives at the Swiss level. Swisscom and UBS launched one. There was one in Bern. So there are initiatives to go in that direction and to somehow facilitate the framework conditions so that we invest more in scale-ups. Yeah. But this is certainly a long-term, endeavor, and we need to find the right way of funding that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the argument is perfect, right? It just sounds to me like they just need to listen to you. And then they would say, yes,
it's well known. I mean, if you look, every study on Switzerland's strengths and weaknesses highlights that scaling up for our startups is an issue.
Okay.
Now we need to find a way
to persuade the people who actually run the pension funds to carve a little bit out for this.
Yes, of course.
Interesting. Are you listing pension funds?
Startups are seen as a risky business.
Right.
It should be seen as an investment with big returns.
Of course.
It's well managed. Like do most of the US, VC funds.
Yeah.
It's highly, it pays off.
Big returns.
Big return on investment. Right. Of course, it needs to be done well.
But it's riskier, but the returns on the ones that make it are fantastic.
Right. It's a business on its own. And it's quite lucrative for those doing it well.
Yeah.
So I think there we could improve for sure.
Is that maybe tied somewhat to the traditional risk aversion in the Swiss character, or at least in the character of people who manage lots of lots of money in Switzerland. The investments tend to be conservative here.
Sure. Our DNA, around banks, insurance, and so on, not pushing maybe to take more risk.
Yeah.
But this is something we can change. I mean, let's not
Yes, right.
let's not be frozen in time with how we evolve until now.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we find the best support for those companies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Of course, SMEs still are, the bulk is probably 99% of the companies.
Right.
So we need to nurture the large multinationals because they have a huge impact on Switzerland.
Right.
Make sure SMEs have competitive playing field with good conditions. And then we need to support the startups.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's been.
I think the ecosystem in Switzerland has improved quite dramatically. I mean, you see the work done at ETH, at EPFL, and in other centers like CSCM. The number of startups has increased dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going in the right direction. It's now possible to launch startups, find some VC support. I would not say easily, but it's easier than before. I think where we need to support now is the scale-up funds.
Oh, yeah.
So that we have large unicorns that we all wish to have, thousands of employees.
Right.
We have some good examples, but I wish we had more.
Right. What is a good example of something like that that's come through that particular pipeline?
I mean, in the domain where I am, I would say Sensirion in Zurich. It's really work that came out of an ETH lab. And now, it's a huge company providing all kind of sensors for automotive and other applications. It's a really beautiful example.
Okay. And how long did it take them to get to this time?
More than 20 years.
Yeah.
So sure.
Right.
But it's continuously growing and it's having a big impact. Mm-hmm. You take smaller example, Cutis, in Zurich.
What's the name?
Cutis.
Cutis?
They grow artificial skin, if you want. So they take 1 square centimeter of your skin,
right,
for heavily burned patients.
Oh yeah, right.
Following, Now we are all aware of how critical this is.
Yes.
And so this was developed at the University of Zurich for more than 15 years, and then the company Cutis exploited this technology to, in the end, support people with heavily,
third-degree burns. Yeah, right.
That can be really hard on the people suffering from it. And so we've helped them develop the right conditions and machinery to go from 1 square centimeter of healthy skin,
right,
taken through a biopsy, and after 20 days, you get 40 square centimeters of fully biocompatible healthy skin that you can then graft on the person.
Really?
This is super impactful for society. It's
know about that. That's fantastic.
Fantastic, as you know. And this is an example of how one idea coming out of a lab, in this case, University of Zurich,
right,
is generating jobs in Switzerland, but can also have a really good impact,
right,
on society.
For sure.
So there are examples of startups with huge impact on the job side, but also others with a big impact on society.
Yeah.
Society, and I think we should encourage them.